Big Rab Show Podcast is kindly sponsored by G1 Reeds. They are the champion's choice, with many bands around the world playing G1 products, providing everything you'd need to hit the circle or the big stage. So, check out g1reeds.com as they keep the lights on here at the Big Rab Show Podcast.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Big Rab Show podcast. Now, I know the title of this week's episode sort of gives it away as to what we're going to be talking about. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the world of volunteers and just how important they are to the bagpiping scene. But yeah, that'll all be on this week's topic of the week. So before we even get there, let's get through our introductions then, shall we? If this is your first ever Big Rab Show podcast, you are welcome. We are the show for the bagpiping folk. We reflect everything in the bagpiping world, be it Celtic music, folk music, or indeed our bread and butter, which is competitive piping and drumming. Each and every week we're here talking about what we know and love to be the music of the great Highland bagpipe and its people. And yeah, time to plug the Patreon. Now, stick with me now. We do have quite a bit of ground to cover here with Patreon. There's been a lot of activity over there with our Patreon faithful. Yeah. Now, like every other podcast out there under the sun, they all have Patreon accounts, and we are no different. We have a means for you to help support your favorite piping podcast and to help us continue with our content and to improve it, I guess. So, yeah, we should always give a big shout out to our Patreon faithful.
Well, hello, pals and dames. The Patreon faithful are awesome. Solid send. The whole bunch is simply scrumptious. The Patreon faithful are awesome.
Yes, the Patreon faithful are indeed awesome. And as promised, there you go. We give it a bit of a jingle for our Patreon faithful. If you do want to help support us, then you can do. There's a link in your show notes right now. You can click on that and you can join us. And there's a wealth of extras back there. Episodes of Rab Show Plus, which a new one uploaded there a couple of weeks ago now at this point. We have our weekly Fuse FM Ballymoney radio show. Last night's show is up there now. That's definitely worth a listen because last night's show was a cracker, actually. Some good tunes played. And, yeah, also our Fly on the Wall documentary, which we're simply calling Behind the Scenes. Episode 2 is now uploaded, which covers the month of March, which was quite a busy month for us here in the Rab Show. Of course, with the Kids with Cancer Charity Night and a wealth of other concert kind of stuff that we were doing behind the scenes, not just with me, but with the Rab Show team. Kind of shows you what the day and daily is here at the Big Rab Show and a peek behind the curtain, I guess. So if you are interested in checking out that documentary series, well, 2 episodes are available now. You can go and have a look at that on Patreon. There you go. So yes, shout out to your Patreon faithful. You are indeed awesome. Thank you all so much for those of you who've clicked support. And for those of you who haven't, don't worry. We're still going to be here in the pod each and every week. Yeah. All right, so that's the Patreon plugged, good and proper. I do want to mention a brand new feature that's coming to Patreon, actually. Yeah. This is called the Postscript. Yeah, brand new feature that's being brought to Patreon, where normally this would hit the cutting room floor. You know, once the script runs out and the credits roll on each episode, well, essentially we're going to keep the microphone switched on and let you folks hear kind of a little bit more of the conversation that would not normally see the light of day. Yeah. And that'll be exclusive to our Patreon members. So if you do want to go and check out the Postscript, that's a new feature that we're bringing over there to Patreon in the next few weeks. Yeah. The Postscript, that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah. Anyway, so that's Patreon plugged good and proper. Okay. So if you haven't checked it out, please do so. There you go. Right, with each and every Big Rab Show, we do open the door to listener mail. And this week is no different. Yeah, listener mail, bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Now, as we had a special podcast last week, all about the Kids with Cancer Night, I'm going to kind of summarize all of the emails, thoughts and feelings in this particular segment. All right, the Kids with Cancer Night podcast, we got a lot of positive, but we also got quite a lot of negative. Yeah, believe it or not, there was those out there who complained and said, Rab, your podcast for the Kids with Cancer Night 2026 was just too long. I couldn't dedicate the time to listen to it all. Well, fair enough. Yeah, I'll take my lumps on that one. The podcast itself was quite a lengthy one. Now, that was for good reason. I made the editorial choice to include the music in there. Now, I could have cut it all out, of course, and then made you guys all head over to YouTube and watch the videos that are up on YouTube right now. Shameless plug. But I decided to include it in the podcast because it gave a bit of an idea of the atmosphere of the event. I didn't just want it to be talking with people all the time. I also wanted to reflect the amazing music that was brought to that stage. And this year's event with the Kids with Cancer Night, it was, I can't find the words to describe it. This was the 9th year of the Kids with Cancer Night, and it just seems to only ever get better. And I'm sure for those of you who did struggle through the full episode last week, well, I'm sure you were in for an absolute treat. So many people had comments about Police Scotland Fife and their 2026 medley. Also, their tribute set, which included Dr. Richard Parkes, MBE. There were so many big moments on the night. And not only them, but also, the newly reformed for one night only Pipes and Drums of the Royal Ulster Constabulary, GC. You talk about a very special moment that was emotional for everyone involved. I think all of the bagpiping fans in the room really kind of got the gravity of the whole thing, that this essentially was the last time we will ever see this band at all. In any form. You know, this was the last time they were going to play together ever. And they titled it The Last Hurrah. And they couldn't be more accurate. It was a sense of celebration. The music that was played was absolutely brilliant. It's like these folks had never missed a day, honestly. The band sounded incredible. But then once they marched out of the room, that was it. And I meant what it said on the podcast. Actually, there were a few people who were very moved by this. And there was quite a number of tears in the room. It was a big moment. And I did want to capture every aspect of that on last week's pod. So, yes, I did draw some criticism from a good number of you who complained about the duration of last week's pod. So, hi. I'll have to take my lumps on that one, but I did want to capture every moment. I think it's good to look back on, you know. I don't know about you folks, but I do delve back in through the archives sometimes of the Big Rab Show. Like, what's this? Episode 482 at this point. Cheapers. So, we've covered a lot of ground in our time here on the podcast, and I do like to go back and look at previous events, and I'm sure that's one of them that I'm definitely going to look back on fondly, for sure. Anyway, as you heard at the tail end of last week's pod, or maybe you didn't, Gary Smith and team did absolutely exceed their target of 100,000 raised for the Children's Cancer Unit there in the Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast. And a full congratulations to Gary and to all of the backroom team who made this event possible. And to everyone who donated and all of that, the Pipe Band family, just congratulations all round. Such a worthy cause. So the event will return again next year. For the 10th edition of the Kids with Cancer Night. And it'll be the 10th and final edition of that night. And as you might also have heard, the Field Marshal Montgomery are secured, booked. They're coming. So I cannot wait. So Field Marshal Montgomery will be hitting the stage at next year's Kids with Cancer Night. And what a way to wrap it up. It's going to be a huge celebration event and obviously trying to raise a ton more money for charity. There you go. Now, before I progress any further, seeing how we're talking all about the Kids with Cancer Night and Gary Smith and the family and how all the work that's went on behind the scenes raising money for such an amazing cause, I do want to send out my condolences to Gary Smith, to everyone there in the family, following the passing of Gary's father, Billy. All of us here in the Big Rab Show team were good mates with Billy, of course. We knew him very well, and if anything, I was actually chatting to him at the Kids with Cancer Night, and he just seemed to be having the time of his life. Just really enjoyed the whole thing. And sadly passed a few days later. So from all of us here in the Rab Show team, we do want to pass on our sincerest condolences to all the family circle, to friends, family, it's just an awful time. So, yeah, I figured I should pay my condolences on the show this week and reflect the feeling of the bagpiping world whenever we say that Billy will be sorely missed by all of us in the scene. Competitions will just not be the same without him. All right, so with listener mail, that's pretty much a summary of everything. Everyone had pretty high praise of Police Scotland 5 and the musical performances, with some standout moments, of course, but also, complaints about the duration. So perhaps next year's Kids with Cancer Night podcast will not be as long as that one, unless you folks absolutely love it. I don't know, but it seems to be the overwhelming majority of people really didn't like it being that long. So, yeah, fair enough. I'll do my best to shorten it down next year whenever we have Kids with Cancer Night 10th anniversary. All right, let's move on. Time for Weekly Drone. Now, for those of you who don't know about Weekly Drone, it's one of our favourite features here on the show. It's an open microphone to the bagpiping world where, you can let us know your thoughts, feelings, statements even, whatever, warts and all, without the fear of recrimination, because there's no identifying factors. It's completely anonymous, which is the beauty of it. So if you are concerned about possible backlash to you or your band, well, that's not possible because you can't identify anyone. So head to our website, thebigrabshow.com, that big button at the very top of the page that says Weekly Drone. Oh, I dropped my pen. You can go to Weekly Drone, top of the page, and tell us your story. Click send, and you'll hear JD on the podcast reading it out in the next following weeks, I guess. So, JD, I believe we have some in the system for this week, man. So, go on ahead. Let's have the first one then for this week.
The Weekly Drone.
This might be something of an outsider's sensitivity, but associations outside the RSPBA are not branches, as often referred to on the program. I'm sure it feels normal since the show itself comes from the footprint of the Northern Ireland branch of the RSPBA, but other associations are completely independent, many having branches of their own. While the RSPB owns the Worlds and any events taking place within the UK, other associations around the world, including your neighboring Irish Pipe Band Association, are not subordinate to the RSPBA, and they are not required to follow its rules, grading or otherwise. This may just be semantic, but it could also be something RSPBA takes a moment to consider in their various rulings about external bands.
Weekly Droner, fair point, I reckon. Let the music play out as I'm gathering my thoughts. Yeah, now this was on a previous topic, I guess, where I was talking about international bands as I was responding to a Weekly Drone on the very same topic. I think a lot of what I said was still accurate, though, that if you do play in an international band under a different jurisdiction, you still have to dance to the tune of the RSPBA, who do run the Worlds. You said that, and you said in your own Weekly Drone just there now. But yes, you're quite right. I do take my lumps on that. I did refer to a lot of the other jurisdictions as branches, and that's my mistake, and absolutely stuff that Rab got wrong. Now, I did not do that intentionally. I did not want to offend, but you are 100% on the money. I should not have referred to them as branches. They are not subordinates of the RSPBA. So, yes, they are their own entity in their own right. You're quite right in saying so. So, yes. However, a lot of what I still said on the pod does remain accurate. If you do want to compete at a major championship here in the UK, the likes of the Worlds, the Scottish, the British, UKs, whatever, you do have to adhere to the sets of rules and all the gradings and all of that kind of stuff that RSPBA lay down on their competitions. So, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, that, and you're quite right in saying so. Whenever the RSPBA are considering rule changes and things like that, they do have to have due consideration for their international bands that will be wanting to compete at their events. And yeah, it may cause them pause for consideration before making huge decisions. You're quite right in saying that. So, a very accurate Weekly Drone this week, and I apologize for any hurt caused. There was none intended. So let's fly on, I guess, now that we've discovered stuff that Rab got wrong. Thank you. I always like to be corrected when I'm wrong. Because we always learn something on the show each week, don't we? Anyway, let's fly on. JD, I believe we have another one on the shelf, mate. Is this another one that Rab got wrong?
The Weekly Drone.
Post-school teaching and bands. Hi, Rab and team. With all the talk surrounding number caps, transfer windows, and dwindling numbers in the scene, I think it's important to query some reasons why the issue has arisen to help combat it in the future. Whilst many young players leave world-class school teaching systems and walk into grade 1, I know the majority, like myself, come out somewhere between the other grades, which, when weighted against the other exciting temptations of being a student at university, sports societies, or first jobs, etc., leads to many younger players giving up their instruments for good at the end of school. I think university or college-backed pipe bands, similar to university societies, would allow and encourage younger players to retain their instruments and passion, compete, and build a network of other bandmates in potentially new locations. Hopefully, with the idea of feeding them into local bands or higher after graduation. This is not something we see at all in the UK, and could help stop the vast number of kids and young adults falling out of the system before they even get to fully experience this world that we all love and the beer tent.
That's an interesting weekly drone. There's a few points where I possibly disagree with you, however, controversial as it may be. But yeah, it's quite an interesting discussion, that one. A lot of the kids that are going through the education system at the moment, in Scotland particularly, and they're learning piping and drumming on the curriculum, a lot of those musicians would spend their school career learning tunes, competing even with their school band, and being a part of the bagpiping world. Then they find at the end of their school life, I guess, and they graduate and they go into employment or whatever, well, yeah, the pipes get through in the box again and handed back to the school, or the sticks get fired under the bed and forgot about. Yeah, so access to instruments and the ability to keep that hobby, that passion going is proven to be very difficult. Whenever we look at examples that are set by the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Trust and also the Gordon Duncan Memorial Trust, places like this, well, they do encourage youngsters to, well, have access to instruments after their school career has ended. I think we mentioned this on a previous show before with an interview with the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Trust, where they give kids options to buy their instruments at the end, and they also help with the cost. So say whenever they're leaving school in 5th year or upper 6th or whatever it is they decide to leave, well, the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Trust do step in with, well, you've been playing a set of pipes all year that has been partially funded by the trust. Would you like to buy them before you leave school? You can take them with you and continue playing. That is definitely a focus of that trust. Similar to the Gordon Duncan Memorial Trust as well, they do help similar programs where they do help to put instruments into musicians' hands to continue the music and their playing. But these are outside charity trusts, and yeah, few and far between. They do have their efforts, of course. They are doing what they can, but they can only do so much. So I don't know. Does it fall to the school system? Does it fall to the parents themselves? Does it fall to the actual musicians themselves to be fundraising throughout their school career towards the end of it? And then they can hopefully purchase the instrument that they've played for a long time and then hopefully find a band that they can continue competing with. I don't know. It's a very difficult question to answer, but I do know, Weekly Droner, that there is initiatives out there that do try to keep kids in the circle after they've finished their school days. And it is a known challenge that a lot of the players, as you mentioned, don't just immediately leave school and go straight to the top flight. A lot of those kids do go to their lower grade bands, their local villages, their, local area bands that may not be as graded as grade 1. They may be grade 2, 3, 4. So just depends. And keeping that passion going is very difficult whenever there's so many other distractions out there. You know, we have university, we have careers, you have all of that. A serious amount of stuff can also pull everyone away from the bagpiping scene. And, all of those obstacles to that we need to remove. And that's where, you know, people like the Scottish Schools Pipe Band Trust comes in, and the Gordon Duncan Memorial Trust and others. That's where they try to play their part. So it's an interesting dynamic, that one. How do we keep people involved in the scene and make it as accessible as possible? It's a difficult question. Yeah. No doubt we'll have to tackle this in a future topic of the week. Quite an interesting discussion, that one, Weekly Droner. I don't know. You've perhaps inspired a future topic of the week right there. There you go. Well, folks, if you do have any thoughts, questions, queries, or, of course, your own weekly drones, you can send them in to us. Our email address is bigrabshow@gmail.com, or you can send us in your own weekly drone. Go to the website, thebigrabshow.com, that big button at the top of the page, and anything we've spoke about on this week's show, or any previous show for that matter, do let us know your thoughts and feelings, warts and all. And, you can do like Andrew O'Sullivan did on a previous episode and send us in your voice notes as well. You can record them on your phone and email them in to us, and we'll play them out here in a future show, and your voice will be on the Big Rab Show. There you go. Right, folks, I think that's pretty much it for all of the introductions and everything. At this point, it's time for me to take a wee break, but I'll be right back with all of the news and updates. Ever wish you had a piping teacher on call 24/7? Well, now you do. Introducing the Interactive Player, a game-changing new practice tool at Dojo University. Play along with world champion pipers while the notes on your sheet music light up in time. Loop tricky phrases, slow down tough sections, zoom in to focus, and build speed automatically. It's like having a teacher right in your practice room, showing you how to master every tune at your own pace. So, sign up for a free trial today at pipersdojo.com and start learning smarter with Dojo U's Interactive Player.
Kingdom Thistle Pipe Band Supplies for all your pipe band and marching band needs. Supplying everything from uniforms and instruments to custom designed bass drum heads. They offer it all. Not forgetting their exclusive Kingdom Gilly Brogues and George Boots, crafted by bands for bands. Kingdom Thistle provides expert product advice and an industry-leading drum refurbishment service to keep your equipment in top-class condition. Also shipping worldwide. So stop by their store in Fife or visit them online at kingdomthistle.com for all your pipe band and marching needs.
Hello, this is Kerr McQuillan, and you're listening to The Big Rab Show.
Okay, well, shout out to our sponsors to help keep the wheel turning here at The Big Rab Show. So, the first news story that I have to lead out the door with, of course, is that huge announcement that dropped just last week from the 70th Fraser Highlanders. Yeah, I'm sure you've probably seen the news by now. But yeah, after 21 years as leading tipper of the mighty 70th, Drew Duthard has decided to step down from the leadership role. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people thought that this meant that he was absolutely leaving the band altogether. That's not the case. He's still going to be an active member. So Drew Duthard is still going to be there in the back line. However, he's now no longer going to be there in a leadership capacity. This was due to health challenges, and apparently he requires a hip replacement. Yikes. So that's not a small thing by any means. So Drew, it's an absolute end of an era, but I do hope that you find good health this year, for sure, and you do get sorted with your hip replacement. Yeah. So then the next question is, well, who's going to replace such a legendary lead tipper? Well, the reins have been handed across to Kyle Wardle. Now, Kyle has been in that corps now for, well, as it says in the press release here, 13 years. There you go. But yeah, the drum corps itself will definitely be in very capable hands. And we're very excited, actually, to see what will change now at the back row at the 78th Fraser Highlanders from a musical perspective. We all know that Drew can absolutely churn out some absolute thundering goodness. So we're very keen to see what Kyle's going to bring. Now, we know that every time a band changes leadership, it can absolutely change the musical voice of any band. We've spoke about this plenty of times before. When bands change pipe majors, lead tippers, it can be a real fundamental change to the approach to competition. So we just don't know what the 78th Fraser Highlanders are going to sound like this season. And for that reason, that's exciting to see them on the grass. I can't wait. But not only that, looking forward to seeing them in the circle is one thing, but they're also doing the pre-Worlds concert this year as well. True North Strong. And a lot of people seem to... That's kind of what? Hold on, right. They're changing leadership and they're going to the concert hall. Yeah. You talk about a big year for the 70th Fraser Highlanders. Yikes. So, yeah, they're doing the pre-Worlds concert. Of course, True North Strong. Tickets are available. You can go and grab them. And that's quite surprising, actually. I'm surprised that hasn't actually been sold out at this point. So, yeah, if you haven't got tickets for True North Strong, go grab them. This is going to be such an exciting show for a load of different reasons. Yeah. So 70th Fraser Highlanders, yeah, in a little bit of a state of flux at the moment. Things are changing. And, yeah, we're going to see, a fresh new approach for the drum corps, I guess, this incoming season, which will be really exciting. So for 70th Fraser Highlander fans, 2026 is shaping up to be quite an exciting year. And, yeah, for all of us regular Joe Piping fans, it's also going to be exciting because we just don't know what this band's going to sound like. And I can't wait to hear them. It's going to be good. So, yeah, following that news, and we're talking about the pre-Worlds concert, of course, True North Strong, tickets are available, as I've said. But there are a wealth of other concerts on at the moment. Yeah. This weekend, in fact, Ravara Pipe Band are in concert, and Drumlock Pipe Band are also in concert. I think they're also inviting St. Joseph's Pipe Band to take to the stage with them this weekend. I'll be at that one myself, the Drumlock show, and we compare on the evening. But yeah, if you don't want to go to see Drumlock Pipe Band in action, well, you have the choice then of seeing Ravara as well. So yeah, you're kind of spoiled for choice this weekend. Of course, next weekend, Tullylagan Pipe Band will be in concert in the Burnavon Theatre as well in Cookstown. So, yeah, there you go. If you're there for the Ulster Championships, you can just hang around and go to the Tullylagan concert that night. Excellent, yeah. Also, on the 18th of April, we have the National Youth Pipe Band of Scotland. They're going to be in the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall as well. And I'm not going to embarrass myself with trying to pronounce the name of their show. Or am I? Okay. Is it Dochas or Dotas? I promise I didn't do it on purpose. If anything, my Scots Gaelic is terrible. But yeah, if you are wanting to go and see the National Youth Pipe Band of Scotland, that's next weekend. Glasgow Royal Concert Hall. Tickets are available. Or if you're here in Northern Ireland, you can go and see Tullylagan in the Burnavon in Cookstown. There you go. Tons of concerts on. And now I've mentioned it a bunch of times now on Fuse, how People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate, Caledonia are hitting the stage in the Aberdeen Music Hall. Yes, they're bringing back their Caberfy show. Come on, like lightning doesn't strike twice, but here's your opportunity. 2nd of May, Aberdeen Music Hall. Thanks to Bucksburn District Pipe Band who are hosting that. Tickets are available. Go and grab them. If anything, Boghall, I think we mentioned this in a previous show, they're actually going to be on stage in Edinburgh in the Queen's Hall on the 22nd of April. Yeah, as part of the Royal Philatonia Dutch Wind Orchestra Anniversary Show. There you are. So, and the show's called Across the North Sea. Interesting. So, yeah, I think we spoke all about that in our previous show. But anyway, folks, just to let you know, we're smack bang in the middle of concert season right now. Yeah, and if you are looking for a concert to attend, you're absolutely spoiled for choice. So we've done our best to share out all those details on our socials, of course. And, yeah, if you are anyways curious for ticket information, all that sort of stuff for all the concerts I just mentioned and a load of others, then, yeah, give us a shout here on the Big Rab Show, and we'll do our best to get you hooked up. Email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com. And, if there's a show you want to get to, we'll send you the link as to where to grab your tickets. Okay, let's get into the rest of the news. Now, as I'm sure you've probably already seen, and we've been mentioning it now for a few weeks, closing dates and all of that stuff for a lot of our competition season are fast approaching, including our major championships. Yeah. So our advice, again, rather than giving specific dates and all that kind of stuff, because people get bored, go and check out your relative associations to make sure that you have your paperwork in by the required deadline. All right? You've been warned, been telling you, deadlines are approaching to get paperwork in. Don't let them pass you by. Make sure your band secretary is switched on, knows what the dates are, and if your band does intend at competing at an upcoming event, do make sure you're registered well in advance. Don't be disappointed. Yeah. So just wanted to throw that out there, that closing dates for competitions are fast approaching. Get your entries in. Okay, this next news story is one not for our international listeners. This is definitely from a local perspective here in Northern Ireland. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the calendar. There's been a lot of dates announced over this last while, with some venues still to be confirmed. So I took opportunity to catch up with the chairman, Andrew Graham, to find out just what is going on with the Northern Ireland calendar. There's a lot to look forward to and a lot of speculation still. So I'm going to dedicate some time to catch up with the chairman of the Northern Ireland branch of the RSPBA and find out just what exactly is going on. Andrew, how are you, mate? Are you well?
I'm good, Rob, and yourself?
The best. Well, if anything, looking at these dates, you're going to be insanely busy this season.
Yeah, luckily I have a good team behind me and around me, so yeah, that share the workload, you know. So yeah, they're very much involved. Yeah. There's no contests happening at the minute. The work does not stop, believe me, Rob. You know, it's continuous. Just so no. Well, looking forward to it.
The topic on this week's program, actually, we're talking about volunteers behind the scenes that make the magic happen. And the branch definitely counts on a lot of that work as well, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, 100%, Rob. You know, we have a project officer, Patricia, the contest committee chair, Danielle, Aaron, who does a fabulous job with the media and comms. Yeah. And if you want to include myself as a chairman, but we can only do so much organisation. Really, on the day, it's those that come and help us put up gazebos, set up arenas, and do all those wee jobs that, you know, people just take for granted, would be lost without them, you know. If you didn't have the volunteers, you would struggle to get the contest even started, you know.
That's it.
So,
the whole thing wouldn't function. And so, no doubt we'll get into that in the topic of the week. We'll get into that further. But thank you for that. But I wanted to talk about the calendar because obviously the UK solos 17th and then the Ulsters the next day. Quite a packed weekend of solo action.
It is indeed. I think if Danielle was on, she'd maybe say never again because it's sort of a whole lot of work involved. But yeah, you know, we're looking forward to it. You know, and I think there's a good entrance so far in it. The Ulster Solos has, over the past few years, the entrance into it has increased. Lots and lots, as you're well aware as well, Rob. You know, we had to change location from the school in Lisburn. We've had to move it to bigger premises, you know, to Cookstown High School, because we've just outgrown the school in Lisburn. It's as simple as that, just, you know. So, yeah.
There you go. So that's what prompted the move. Then we did get a few questions asking about that, but it was the sheer volume of entries. Yeah,
that is just what it came down to at the end of the day. Yeah, but just had outgrown the school. So yeah.
There you are, yeah. So, well then, obviously then the bands get a chance to walk out after the solos with the first indoor competition of the season then. 25th of April, we're heading to Dromore.
We are indeed, Dromore High School, to the County Down Indoor Championships, we are indeed. So, looking for the County Down section are looking after that. We're doing a wee bit of work for them. Aaron, again, mentioned, you know, he's doing a bit of the media and stuff, but they have a great leader, you know, Vicky, and a great team around Vicky, singer there. Working away, doing a lot of good work for the County Down section in general. But,
it's exciting. You know, bringing the indoor competitions back again, I've got some real fond memories. I remember one specifically in 5 Mile Town in the hotel.
Oh, yes.
Loved that one. You know, you were playing your MSR, people eating chips.
Yeah. That's right.
Such a good competition.
And it doesn't matter what the weather's doing outside. You know, you're going to stay there.
That's it.
But it's a great start of the season. You know, it gives those bands maybe, you know, if there's lots of new members or young members, it gives them a chance to come out and get their sort of first critique sheets, I suppose, things to learn, things to progress on before the actual outdoor season starts, where the serious business, I suppose you would say, happens. So.
Yeah. The indoors can be so much fun, you don't have to deal with the elements then.
Exactly.
It's a very cool thing. So I'm really glad to see that back again. So that's all kicking up 25th of April. Get that in your calendars. But then obviously the first outdoor that we have here in Northern Ireland is the County Fermanagh Championships, 23rd of May. So can you tell us about that one? It's actually changed now, isn't it?
It has indeed, yeah. Anybody that was at Enniskillen contest last year would have seen all the building work and everything around the centre. So that whole area is now closed. And they're now, so the County Fermanagh section, they're moving up the road to Irvinstown, to Nacarn Castle. Lovely grounds up there, beautiful location. And our president, Barry Booth, comes from there, and Ray Hall, our directors for County Fermanagh man. So we're going in there. The strength of their word that it's going to be brilliant. So, and I've no doubt it will. So Nacarn Castle is a lovely area, and so it is. So
there you go.
Looking forward to that.
Well, I'm hoping that they could sort the weather out in Fermanagh. How many times have we been to Fermanagh and got washed out?
I know, Rob. we can only do so much organisation, but
there you go.
The weather unfortunately is just beyond us. So.
Oh no, I'm pulling your leg, of course. I know.
Yeah, I know.
It's one of those things, but I'm really hopeful for a sunny championships in Fermanagh. That's exciting.
Yeah, I think we all are, Rob. So yeah, it would be lovely.
For sure.
Yep.
So 6th of June then sees us at the Mid-Ulster Championships then back in Cookstown. Yeah.
Yep, by the Mid-Ulster section again, just the annual contest in Cookstown High School. So it's always a well-run, organised contest. There's a great team up there as well in the Mid-Ulster section. Yeah. Just a wee bit of are we back up on top of the hill or back down to the playing fields? They haven't decided yet. I don't think 100%. So I think there's a lot of work being done down to where it used to be down at the pitches, but that's all been really sown and the grass is growing again. So it's just whether we're given permission to throw it all over it again. I don't know. So
yeah. So watch this space, I guess.
Watch this space, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know the following week then is a competition that the Northern Ireland branch aren't responsible for. It's the folks in headquarters are arranging this, obviously. The UK's are the following week then in Belfast on the 13th of June.
That's correct. Yep, it is indeed. Yeah, up in Grove Playing Fields in North Belfast. Like you have said, I was no point in me going over to get it's the RSPBA headquarters are running it, obviously backed by our own Ulster Scots Agency and Belfast City Council are coming in there as well. So still looking forward to it. Not as involved maybe as much as we would like to have been, but there's a great team there looking after it and organising it. So we have to put our faith in them that everything's going to work out on the day. So
it will. I'm sure it will. Yeah, I wish them well, but organising a major championship is a huge job, a huge task. So, best of luck.
Definitely. And if they need help from the Northern Ireland branch, we've offered it. We've held out the olive branch, and it's there if they need it. So, but yes, I wish them all the best of luck, and I do hope, and I know it will be good. It'll be a good day.
Oh, well, surely, yeah. So obviously then the next one we have, it's TBC. It's down as a branch competition on the 20th of June, but we're still waiting on that confirmation. Isn't that right?
Yeah, times have changed, Rob, from a few years ago. Like pre-COVID, you could have went to a council and said, we will have a contest on this date, and they would have said, fair enough. Now, maybe not on that day they wrote the cheque, but the cheque would have arrived very soon. Councils have changed. Most of the councils now have changed. We have to go through grant applications, and then every box has to be ticked, every I dotted, every T crossed. And it's like a tennis match. You're going back and forward and back and forward, Yeah. And a whole lot of them it's April before they actually make their decisions. So it's frustrating, and I get that. I am one of those frustrated people myself, before I became involved with the branch itself directly as a parent of a competitor. But once you're involved in the branch and you get to learn all these things, it's not a surprise anymore. But with no concerns, there will be a contest that weekend. So
good stuff. But we will wait for that announcement, though.
There's no point in saying, and then should something there for a bit happen that location. If people have accommodation booked, then we're the worst in the world.
No, that's it. You don't want to get into that territory. No,
definitely not. No.
So we have another major then after that. We have the Euros, of course, on 27th of June. That's in Perth. But highlight for us here locally then, the 4th of July. Independence Day. We're heading to Lucan then for the All-Ireland Championships.
Yeah, change the venue again. Yes, it's the IPBA turn to host it. Although it's a JAC event, up the Northern Ireland branch is still very much involved with it. But they're the hosts this year. A clash of events stopped it going back to Donabate where it was before. Yeah. St. Catherine's Park in Lucan, just in West Dublin. Not too far, a wee bit further down the road, but not too much further. So, but a great venue, and so looking forward to that one.
It looks like it's worth a visit. I haven't actually been, but I have put it into Google Maps and everything. I've been nosy to get a look around to see, but it does look really impressive, actually.
Yeah, it does. It's a huge, big area, so it is. It has great sporting pitches and all around it as well. Like, I think any Saturday or Sunday morning, there could be about 20 football games going on,
Wow, there you go.
So it's a big, big area. So, yep.
They are, and they're going to have a pile of pipe banders stuck in the middle of it now.
Exactly, Well, hopefully the football season will stop for the weather. So,
You're halfway through your medley and somebody's kicking off,
That's a drum major starting to do their run in the middle of the halfway line or something. Yeah, I know.
Oh, boys. Well, hopefully that won't happen, but looking forward to that. Yeah, 4th of July. So the 18th of July, then, we have another branch competition then. Have we got a venue of that? I think that's still TBC,
It's still to be confirmed, but one of our sections is looking into that. So you can probably do a process of elimination when I say section, which one it might be. But we just don't want to commit to saying where it could be until, again, we'll have a signature on the paper.
Absolutely.
If you want to put it like that way, so...
Fair enough. But either way, get that date in your diary, folks. 18th of July.
There's definitely a contest on that Saturday, definitely,
You'll be going somewhere.
It's one of those ones, it's holiday time still. And we had it last year in Ards, if you remember. And drum majors, there were still 40 drum majors. Maybe not as many pipe bands turned out. But the pipe bands, they want the contest, so we're giving them the contest on that date. So.
Yeah. If anything, it gives bands an opportunity then to run out ahead of the Scottish then in Dumbarton the following week.
That's another reason behind it as well, Rob. It keeps them, so I suppose, practicing up for it, and that's their last chance to get a bit of a critique sheet before going into, like you say, into the next major of the season. So, yeah.
There you go. No, momentum is important. Absolutely. Especially towards the latter
100%.
half.
I definitely. Yeah, when you come into the second half, you want to keep it going. So,
you do. Yeah. Well, then, of course, 1st of August, kicking things off, then we have the Ulster Championships, which is one of my favourite contests of the year, Andrew. Yeah. So, again, according to the calendar, it says TBC. We haven't got a venue for that yet.
Yeah. It's going to be Ward Park in Bangor, Rob. So
Where?
I can't announce that. Yeah, Ward Park. I think we were there a couple of years ago for the UK Championships. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
As your viewers and all know, Ards and Bangor take it in turns, so it is Bangor's turn. So it made sense to go to Ward Park. It was a vast area there as well, plenty of room.
It's huge, and they've had some big gigs there over there. So like Snow Patrol,
exactly.
So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us.
Exactly. They haven't seen anything yet until they have the Ulster Championships.
I tell you, there you go.
Exactly.
Snow Patrol's got nothing on us.
No, definitely not.
Well, there you go. So the 8th of August then, the following week, we have another branch competition. Have we got a venue for that one?
We're going to, it's a venue that I suppose everybody's been at a few years ago when we had the UK Championships in Lurgan Park. ABC Council sort of went absent for whatever reason for a couple of years, but they've approached us last year, and I'm pleased to announce that that's where it's going to be on the 8th of August.
Fantastic.
Fingers crossed. 99.9% there. Just one wee bit to get over the line, but that's where it's going to be. Back in Lurgan Park again. So another great venue.
It is
great space.
I know we had a UK's there that was a bit wet, to say the
least. There was a bit of a washout. One year in particular,
that's it. It did sour some people on that, but again, we're going to say that we can't control the weather.
We can do only so much organising, Rob, as you know.
Yeah. So then, obviously, the following week, then we have the big one in Glasgow, the Worlds, of course. But possibly was going to be the highlight of the season for me, Andrew. Then is that bands locally here in Northern Ireland have an opportunity then to bring their World Championship silverware home the following week. The Champion of Champions competition on the 22nd. Tell us about that.
It's going back to, I suppose, to, if you want to say, somebody that said, "Oh, back to the good old days," whenever it used to be. And it's a great. The extra councils coming on board it's created a problem, but it's a nice problem. We just don't have enough weekends now to fulfil, for the season. So we had to move then to the next week after the Worlds. We did do it, like I said before, pre-COVID, and it's a great opportunity for the World Champions, whether it be drum majors or pipe bands or the drum corps, whatever. Yeah. Whoever brings home a trophy from the Worlds, it gives them a great opportunity to show it off to everybody, And it was great years ago when they used to do it. Everybody loved it. Everybody got their wee moment of glory, and you see the smiles on all their faces walking in, and a family member carrying the trophy and all for them. Yeah. And they went there for a few years. You missed that. So it's going to be great to have it back. I think it's great for everybody to have their wee moment. It gives families and friends, grannies and grandads, the whole shebang, if you want to call it that, turn out and support them on the day. So, of course, if there's a street parade, it gives them another opportunity then to show it off to the town, I suppose, whichever seaside town that may be in.
I like you being cryptic there, Andrew.
Yeah.
But you're right in saying that, like the atmosphere at those competitions post-Worlds, it was just so great. Like people weren't really focused on like getting that top prize because they were just so glad that, here we are, we've had a great season, let's just have fun. And the competition part of it obviously was there. Yeah. People wanted to win. But, that wasn't the overall focus of everything. It was like an end of season celebration almost. Yeah.
It was indeed. And I suppose, and I'm not saying anything, but where it used to be up in Portrush, and everybody, yes, they still wanted to compete. But I suppose if you talk to everybody, they just couldn't wait to get the uniform off and go to bars, go to ice cream, whatever amusements, But another seaside town has amusements and everything too. So, two great venues that there's two in for it, and they're two great venues. I think they're probably, if you were asking anybody what's your two most popular venues.
Yeah, you would know which two we're talking about.
You know which two we're talking about.
We don't need to mention them, but we know exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So either way, it's going to be a great contest, great location. So
there you are. And that ends things on the 22nd of August. Then we're back into solo season again. Yeah, but
that's right. Yeah, once you get into September, there's no rest really. I think you have a week or two there.
There you go.
Off, but then of course you've I think on the 19th of September, I think Down Academy. They started off, so do in Ballynahinch, and then the weekend. That's obviously the weekend after that. Then you have your JAC All Ireland, so it's another huge contest, which again is back up in Cookstown again for the same reason the Ulster the Ulster Solo's moved.
Yeah,
we just need a bigger school. We just need a bigger venue. So yeah.
There you go. So, I don't know, Andrew, such a packed season. Mate, it's going to be a very busy year for everyone there at the Northern Ireland branch. So, yeah, best of luck this year. You'll be incredibly busy.
No, thanks, Rob. Yes, it's going to be very busy. And if I could be a bit cheeky and say, we talked on the subject about volunteers.
Yeah, nobody
will ever get turned away. If you feel you can help in any way on the day or leading up to the contest, come and see us. But we'll soon find you a job to do.
There you are. Yep. Absolutely. No, we've got plenty of experts that contact the show each week with how things should go. Well, now's your opportunity. You can actually go and do it.
Exactly. Come and show us how it's done. Yeah, exactly.
Andrew, thanks so much for chatting to us on the show, and I can't wait to bump into you onto the grass this year.
It's going to be great talking to you again, Rob. Yeah, it's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
There you are. A massive thank you to Andrew Graham for joining us here on the show. And it's going to be quite an interesting season for sure. A lot of dates all across the calendar with a lot of piping action to be had on this side of the Irish Sea here in the UK. Yeah. Now, for all of those details, of course, check out the website. And if you do want to volunteer, there's a bit of a theme on this week's show. If you do want to volunteer, well, they have points of contact all through their website and socials. I'm sure they'll be very glad to hear from you. All right. Let's move on from all of Northern Ireland chat. Let's get into everything else that's happening in the scene. Okay, so our next news story, we have to talk about the European Adult Solo Drumming Championships, or as they're more affectionately known, they're known as the Kingdom Thistle Euros. Yeah, that's pretty much how everyone's been referring to them as, because the entire event was sponsored by Kingdom Thistle. who are awesome, by the way. So thank you to Kingdom Thistle. But yes, the European solos took place this past weekend, and full congratulations go to Kerr McQuillan. Yes, he picked up the adult title. What a result. In second place was Jake Jorgensen. Third place was Blair Thomas Brown. Fourth place was Darren Brown. Fifth was Cameron Lawson. And sixth was Gus Sickard, Beard of the Year winner 2025. There you are. Now, the reason I'm giving a full rundown of the top 6 from the Euro solos is, well, those top 6 winners all receive points towards the Champion of Champions title at the end of the solo season. Yeah, and they've also managed to secure themselves a semi-final place at the World Solo Drumming Championships in October. So that's the reason I went through all 6 there. So, but yeah, full credit to Kerr McQuillan lifting that European title. Not too shabby at all. Well done, Kerr. And we have seen a few of the performances from the event. Notably, there's been a few videos actually of Jake Jorgensen's performance, and that, something special right there. So yeah, full congratulations to everyone that did compete at the Euros. I've been told there's been a wealth of great music played at that. And shout out to the tenor drumming as well. Winner of the adult section was Jill Watson. Yes, well done, Jill. So not a bad outing for People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate that weekend. Yeah. So there you go. And again, a massive thank you to the folks there at Kingdom Thistle for sponsoring the event, and to the Dundee, Perth and Angus branch that ran it all. It was just, such a super weekend. So well done, Kerr McQuillan, European Solo Drumming Champion. Well done. Okay, do want to briefly talk about the Lewis and Harris Piping Society, who ran a competition this past weekend, of course, was the Pipe Major Donald McLeod MBE Memorial Competition. Yeah, we mentioned it before, as we were leading up to this event, that it was kind of a who's who of the solo world. But apparently it was plagued with all sorts of problems. A lot of people experienced travel difficulty and all sorts of different issues actually getting there to the contest. But once they were there, they were treated to all sorts of amazing music. Yeah, there was a full report on the entire event, all on bagpipe.news, where someone let us all know about all of the issues that happened with that contest. But thankfully it was able to run as planned, and treated to some great music. The overall winner on the day was Finlay Johnson, and second overall was Stuart Little. Yeah. So Finlay actually managed to pick up the MSR and the Kilmore, and just there you go. That's managing to lift the overall title. There was also a bit of a moment, apparently, on the night where Ben Duncan, who won the Hornpipe and Jig competition, it was his birthday, and the crowd actually sung happy birthday to him before he started playing. There you go. The audience sung happy birthday to Ben Duncan before he struck into his hornpipe jig, and he ended up winning him. So there you are. Must have been motivation for him there. Brilliant stuff. But yeah, congratulations to the overall winner on the day, Finlay Johnson, the Pipe Major Donald McLeod MBE Memorial Champion for 2026. Also, this past weekend was the BC Pipers Association 93rd annual gathering. Now, this competition rolls around every year, and I always seem to miss it. You know, it always seems to fly under my radar for some reason. I don't think I mentioned it in previous shows, so that's on me. Stuff that Rab got wrong, I guess. But this event does appear to be getting bigger and better every year, and this year did not disappoint by any means. Yeah. Can we talk about Simon Fraser University? Oh, man, if you haven't seen their brand new medley that they unveiled at this event, oh my word, go and check it out. The BC Pipers Association have videos up of all the performances from this event, and that new medley performance from Simon Fraser, oh my word, it'll blow your socks off. Go and check it out. Of course, they lifted the Grade 1 overall title on the day, and the drumming. They were the only Grade 1 band in the grade competing that day. Also, shout out to the Cascadia Pipe Band. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. They won overall in Grade 2. They were the only Grade 2 band in competition that day. And again, they sounded incredibly strong, so well done to them. Yeah. In Grade 3, then, the overall winner was Greyland Crossing Pipe Band, and they also lifted the drumming as well overall. Had an opportunity, actually, to go and check out their run, and another band that sounded really strong. I don't know what's going on there in BC, but the bands are hitting the ground running. And in particular, I have to give a big mention to the Northwest Junior Pipe Band. Really impressed. Yeah, they lifted the Grade 4 title overall and the drumming as well. But yeah, shout out to the Northwest Junior. Really big tone. Yeah, really clean playing. Just brilliant. Really, really good. Also, shout out to the Grade 5 champion on the day then was the Robert Malcolm Memorial. They lifted it overall with the drumming as well. So congratulations. Yeah. So if you are anyways curious, you can go along to the BC Pipers on their website, bcpipers.org, for full details on the competition, including all of your solo results as well. That's all up there, including the McCrimmon Memorial, you know, the cairn and the medal and the clasp and all of that. That's all up there. You can go and check it out on the BC Pipers website. But yeah, those performances, the band performances, are all up there on their YouTube channel. Ooh, go and check out the run from Simon Fraser and their new medley. Do you know what I love about this time of year? It's so exciting. Bands are like putting up little clips and little teasers of stuff of what they're up to. And yeah, the likes of that, an indoor competition where we get to see a full competitive medley unveiled to the public for the first time. Simon Fraser, ooh, man. But also that at the Kids with Cancer charity now. On last week's pod, you might have heard it, where they unveiled their 2026 medley. And that opening tune of Grands, and then the reprise of it towards the end. What a tune. What a tune. What a medley. Sheepers. So go and check that out. Yeah. Now also, shout out to Scottish Power as well. Scottish Power have put out little teasers and stuff on their socials. We're talking about this all last night. And yeah, they only uploaded, I think, the opening tune. Yeah, to their new medley. The opener, and then whenever they cracked into the Strathspey, the video cut out. And I was like, just as it was getting good. Loved it. So yes, go and have a listen to Scottish Power. That was such a very cool little clip. But this is what's happening now. This is April. And we're starting to see little hints of what bands are up to. Now, Field Marshal Montgomery were having Saturday practices and such, and they uploaded videos as well of the band who were furiously working hard behind the scenes. However, there was no sound. Oh, no sound. Yeah, so plenty of piping action and drumming action from FM, but they didn't post the audio from him. Yeah, they posted music and done like a bit of a, you know, a voiceover kind of thing. So yeah, we didn't get to hear anything from Field Marshal, but oh man, if anything, that's just piqued my interest even worse now. I can't wait to hear even more Grade 1 goodness. And bands are starting to unveil their stuff now. So this is exciting. Such a good time of year. And, you know, as concert season continues to roll out, you know, I'm hoping to hear even more little snippets and little hints of what could be potentially hitting the competition circle this season. And so we'll keep you posted on that. The more little hints and stuff that we see, we'll certainly let you folks know, and we'll share it out where we can. Yeah, so there you go. Just wanted to throw that out there. It's a good time to be involved in the piping scene right now. Okay, going to mention, of course, a story that possibly everyone already knows about, but just wanted to remind you, the Australian Championships are this weekend. Yeah, they're taking place on the 11th of April, Saturday. Yeah, so depending on when you're going to be tuning in, though, there is a huge time difference between Australia and here in the UK, so be aware of that. But this is all happening in Perth in Western Australia, and the full draw for the competition is available now. Now, comparing the draw from the Australian Nationals to the New Zealand Nationals, really quite different, but still available for you to read and draw your own conclusions. Okay, so they're up there. But yes, there is a full live stream that will be online thanks to the YouTube channel from Pipe Bands Australia. That'll all be available. Now, they have also put out a warning to be aware of scams. Similar to the New Zealand folks, they're being plagued with fake links being posted everywhere, and then people asking for credit card information to watch the live stream. Please be aware that you will not be charged a cent to watch anything from the Australian Nationals. It's all available for free, okay? So that's available on their YouTube channel for nothing. If you find yourself clicking on any dodgy links and you're having to give over your bank details or anything like that, please do not give them your info. It's false. It's an absolute dodgy link. Please avoid it. I heard so many stories of people who've fallen foul of that from the New Zealand Nationals. It's just horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. And they had to, cancel cards, block their bank account, all sorts of craziness. please don't get into that. You know, if you find yourself giving over personal details to watch a pipe band competition, you're in trouble. Don't click on anything that asks for personal info. And do not give them anything. You know, don't start giving over PIN numbers and that, for goodness sake. Please don't do it. Yeah. So that's, well, this upcoming weekend, Australian Nationals. Hope to join you all on the live stream online. I'm actually really looking forward to this. Yeah. So when we're talking about piping down under, there was a competition this past weekend, of course, the McLean Highland Gathering. Yeah, and congratulations to Emmanuel College Highlanders, or otherwise known as the University of Queensland, who picked up the overall title in Grade 2. Well done. Second place was the Pipe Band Club, and in third place was St Andrews Old. Yeah. Fourth place was the City of Melbourne, number 1. Drumming went to the Pipe Band Club, and actually I did have a chance to have a listen to that performance. That was all sorts of awesome right there. So, yeah, well done to everyone in that Grade 2 competition. Yeah, on to Grade 3, winner on the day was Brisbane Boys College. Yes, and in second place was Brisbane Boys College Old Collegians, and they lifted the drumming as well. Yeah, on to Grade 4 then. First place overall was the Marie Caledonian Society. Second was the City of Ipswich. Third was New South Wales Highlanders. Fourth was the Gold Coast Tweed Incorporated. There's a name for you. Yeah, and in fifth place was the Queensland Irish Association, and in sixth was McLean Districts. There you are. The drumming went to the New South Wales Highlanders. There you go. In Grade 4B then was the Wynnum RSL, who picked up the title overall. First place. Yes, well done. So, folks, if you want to know the full rundown of who won what and where, you can go and check out those results. They have been published online, all from the McLean Gathering. But there's one news story from this gathering that really kind of stung. Yeah, because as we watched all of this action from the McLean Gathering, and those recordings are brilliant, by the way, from that Grade 2, Grade 3, 4, 5 competition, some real good tunes played. Every one of those bands entered. Not one of them will be competing at the Australian Nationals. Yeah, none of them are going to be heading to Perth for the Australian Nationals on the 11th. And, well, the Western Australia Police Pipe Band are the kind of the top flight band on the day. So I don't know what exactly is going on with Pipe Bands Australia right now, but clearly, I don't know. It makes for interesting reading. I do believe there's a story here. I don't know why all of those bands that completed at the McLean Highland Gathering are not competing at the Nationals. I'm not sure what's going on. So if anyone there in Pipe Bands Australia would like to let us know what's going on, why aren't these amazing bands heading and competing at Nationals? We'd love to know the story. Now, we are aware that there was tons of rumours, actually, at the time when we were talking about the Australian Nationals, that, well, the rumour was that they might not be happening. We heard all sorts of talk about they could possibly be cancelled and that the event will not be running at all. Never mind, with the limited numbers that they have already. So, I don't know. I'm very glad to say that rumour is not true. It's been confirmed that the event is happening. The draw's been published. The live stream's good to go. So, if anyone's aware of what's going on there in the Australian pipe band scene, let us know the story. Because obviously we're thousands of miles away. We're not aware of what the crack is. So, yeah, let us know. Email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com. There you are. All right. Now, I have to let you know about 2 exciting opportunities that are available from the RSPBA. First one is that they're now publicly advertising looking for vendors for the UK Championships. Now, this is quite rare. We haven't really seen this before, where it has been advertised on their website. Yeah, they're looking for vendors. If you're wanting to have a stall, a stand, a chip van, whatever it is at the UK Championships, there's your opportunity. You can email them, inquiries@rspba.org, and say, hey, I want to have a pitch at the UK Championships. How do I do that? Well, there you are. There's your opportunity. That doesn't happen often. Also, there's another opportunity for a merchandising partner. Yeah. Now, this one was also very interesting because, well, we all know that the merch van that is there at the Worlds, for example, is always queued out and it sells out every year. It's really annoying. It's really annoying. You can never get any World Championship merch unless you're there at the scrack of dawn and you join that big crazy queue. Well, they're now looking for a new merchandise partner. Now, the merchandise for the Worlds, that's already taken care of. There is an agreement already there in place, and they're not going to, get rid of that. But what they are looking for now is for other championships. Yes. So the Worlds, the Scottish, and the World Solo Drumming apparently are already spoken for. But other competitions are up for grabs. So the likes of the British, the UKs, and the Euros are all out for tender. So are you in the merchandise game? Can you produce T-shirts, hoodies, and cups and mugs and pens at a rate of knots? Well, now's your opportunity. Yeah. So again, that email address, inquiries@rspba.org. And who knows, your company could be the very same company that's producing the next T-shirts to come from the Euros, the Scottish, and the UKs. What a huge opportunity. And if anything, I think this is a first, that stuff like this is publicly advertised on the RSPBA site. Again, transparency here. Yeah. So an interesting development, and good luck to anyone that is going to be applying for these opportunities. Yeah. And I do hope to see you on the grass selling merch. That's actually something quite cool that I think a lot of our majors are missing, is an opportunity to walk away with a Scottish Championships T-shirt or a little mug to say you went to the Euros or something. That's quite a cool thing. And, that money goes into the coffers and helps run things for future seasons. So, yeah, I don't know. Perhaps that podcast we done on fundraising for associations, perhaps somebody was listening to that. Anyway, move on, Rab. Oh, I shall neither confirm nor deny. All right. I do want to briefly mention that the draw for the SPA Professional Competition 2026 has been released. You can go and check all of it out. Of course, competition for that is happening this weekend, Saturday, at the National Piping Centre in McFader Street in Glasgow. Not going to run through the entire Scottish Piper Association rundown for the competition because, yeah, it's quite detailed. There's events all over the place, names everywhere, but for all of that detail, you can go to bagpipe.news. The full draw has been published. And to everyone competing this weekend at the National Piping Centre in the SPA, best of luck. To all of you. And even to the former winners as well. Yeah, best of luck for that one too. Yeah. All right, another little news story. I've got a couple more, and then we're going to get into the topic, I promise. I have to give a shout-out to the City of Edinburgh Pipe Band, who has been periodically announcing the lineup for their upcoming Pipe Majors Wheel of Fortune competition. Yes, I knew this was fast approaching, but I was waiting to see when the full lineup was announced, and now we have it. The event itself is taking place on the 25th of April, and of course is being held in the Danderhall Miners Club in Midlothian. Quite a cool venue, by the way. Everyone really seems to love it there. And this competition has been going from strength to strength. The Wheel of Fortune competition, it really quite stretches some of the competitors. It's really quite difficult, Anyway, the competition element has 3 different parts to it. There's an MSR, there's a Wheel of Fortune medley, and you also have to tell a joke. Yeah, and the Wheel of Fortune medley has 12 numbers on it, and here's your selections, right? I'm going to read the press release here. You can either play an Alan MacDonald tune, you have to play an animal, bird, or fish tune, you can play a Donald MacLeod tune, you have a female name tune. Yeah, you can have a Gaelic or Irish slow air, you can have a Gordon Duncan tune, a G.S. McClellan tune, a hornpipe, your own composition, a polka, 2 jigs, or 2 reels. That's your choices. So imagine that. You'd have to learn all of that stuff in the hope that whenever you spin the wheel, it lands on something you're good at. And then the joke as well. The joke can be a real X factor right there. So good luck. So let's go through our entries for this. We have Sandy Cameron, John Dew, Angus McPhee, Cameron May, Sarah Muir, Craig Muirhead, Dan Nevins, and Bradley Parker. Yeah. Now, apparently Angus McPhee, Dan Nevins, and Bradley Parker have never played at this event before. So this is their first time. So best of luck to those 3. But to everyone who's entered for this contest, yeah, have a good tune. I've been told that this thing is the best crack, and not just for the joke. But yeah, for, you know, the spinning of the wheel, you have to play a Gordon Duncan tune, right? So there's all of that. So much fun. So yeah, for full details on all of that, go and check out the City of Edinburgh Pipe Band. The details are now on their socials for all of that, including the doors open 11:15 a.m. in the morning. And the competition starts at 12 p.m. and tickets are 15 quid. There you are. So contact any member of the City of Edinburgh for full details. There you are. And that's all held in the Danderhall Miners Club on the 25th. There you are. The Wheel of Fortune. Right. Last news story, I promise. Now, we've mentioned this on a previous Big Rab show, but I just want to mention it again because this is really something special. Now, we've mentioned the Maquette Collective here on the show quite a number of times, and their amazing work that they do, you know, encouraging more women and girls to get involved in piping. Well, they have a recital series that'll be happening at the National Piping Centre in McVicar Street on the 25th of April. And the lineup for this is just incredible. Yeah. We have Anna Comerlow, we have Anna Smart, we have Erin Inyata McKay, yeah, we have Hazel White and Sarah Muir. There you are. Quite an amazing lineup. And as I've said, this is all taking place 25th of April in McVicar Street. Tickets are available now. You can go and grab them. And each one of those people that I mentioned are all going to be playing a 15-minute set. And they're also going to be doing a bit of a talk with the MC on the evening, Hannah Rarity. Yeah. So for all of that detail, again, go to bagpipe.news or the National Piping Centre website. This is shaping up to be quite a huge event. The entire thing is actually going to be filmed by Trad TV. If you know who they are, they're kind of the video wing of Inner Ear, who do a fantastic job every year at the Glenfiddich Championship. Yeah. So this will all be filmed and published at a later date. But if you do want to be in the audience for this quite special night, well, tickets, go and grab them now. Here you are. Now, the encouraging bit about grabbing tickets for this is because whenever the recital finishes, there is a bit of a meet and greet and a chance for attendees to have a bit of a chat with the performers and the people behind the Maquette Collective. So if you've ever wanted to just, you know, meet up with your favorite bagpiper from this recital series, well, there's your opportunity. So you can go attend, catch some blistering tunes, and have a big yarn afterwards. There you are. What's not to enjoy? So for full details on the Maquette Collective recital series, which I believe this is the first one and there may be more to follow, just go again to the National Piping Centre's website or even bagpipe.news. They have links across it, all the stories. Yeah, quite an exciting event, that one. Yeah, go and grab tickets. 25th of April. It's just around the corner. All right, folks, that's pretty much it for all the news and updates. Covered a lot of ground this week, and we're about to cover even more with this week's topic of the week. So for those of you that have lasted this long, yeah, strap in. We've got quite an amazing topic to bring you, talking all about volunteers. So let's do this. I think it's time for me to get myself a big cup of tea. It's time for the topic of the week.
Ready to take your playing to the next level? Say hello to the ES Session Chanter, the ultimate practice chanter designed for versatility and durability. Crafted from stainless steel and aluminium, the chanter comes equipped for both an A stem and a B flat stem, giving you the freedom to play along with any instrument, anytime, anywhere. Whether at a band practice or a trad session, the ES Session Chanter keeps pace with your creativity. Included with the chanter is the custom carbon carry case, the perfect addition to this compact and tactile instrument. To get yours, head to essessionchanter.co.uk. Marchify, the brand new home of Flam 5 drumming. Check out their brand new Strike bagpipe case, inspired by their colourful, popular and reliable Flam 5 drum cases. The Strike bagpipe case combines durability, style and practicality, protecting every movement. Shop now at marchify.co.uk with worldwide shipping available. Marchify, every movement protected.
Hi, this is Anna Smart, and you're listening to The Big Rab Show.
Okay, time for topic of the week. Now, this is quite a hot topic at the moment. Volunteering. and how the bagpiping scene pretty much would not function without volunteers. And the reason it's a hot topic as well, we've seen quite a number of bagpiping bodies out there requesting additional help. Now, there's been some quite linchpin roles that have been requesting this, and it does draw concern because in some cases there has been a lack of applications. Very few actually coming forward, throwing their hat in the ring and saying, yeah, I can help. And that's concerning. Now, even ourselves here in the Big Rab Show, of course, all of us here on the Big Rab Show team, we are all volunteers. Believe it or believe it not, none of us are getting rich in this game. Quite the contrary, in fact. But yeah, we're all competitors in our own right, and we're all fans. We all love this music and its people, the culture, all of it. And, you know, we do it for the love of it. So, yeah, just what would the bagpiping world look like without volunteers? I think it would be a very different place. So, whenever we're considering talking about the world of volunteering and why it's important, well, I think if anything you take away from this week's episode, I want you to take away this one line, is that volunteering is the lifeblood of the bagpiping world. Yeah, and I mean that. You know, a lot of our bagpiping world would simply not function without the hard work of volunteers. You know, even things as silly as like logistics, you know, getting people into a car park, you know, and getting somewhere for them to put their vehicle. Or, you know, of course, we talk about it all the time on the podcast here, portaloos, you know, they don't just magically appear, or even somewhere for you to throw your litter, or all of that sort of logistical stuff, the things that are needed to transform what is essentially like a public park or an open space, and to transform that into a pipe band competition. It does take a huge body of work, tireless work behind the scenes, make these competitions happen. You know, for us competitors, sometimes we can really take it for granted. You know, we just turn up at a contest and we expect everything to be in place. The arenas to be marked out with suitable crowd control measures in place. We want portaloos. We want food and drink options. We also want vendors as well, you know, in case we have, you know, an instrument malfunction or something, or even a wardrobe malfunction, and we need some sort of means to either get a new set of brogues that, you know, or a new Glengarry if we lose one, or say a drumhead bursts and we need a new one, or a new snare or something. We need these things in place, and all of them simply will not happen without the work of volunteers behind the scenes. Now, what our RSPBA has been doing recently, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but whenever they've been planning for the UK Championships coming up in Belfast, they've actually been opening the doors and showing us the work that their volunteer team behind the scenes have to put in to make the likes of a major championship actually happen. Yeah, they've shown us how they've flown across here to Northern Ireland and had a few very important site meetings to actually plan it all out. You know, plot it right. This is where the car parks are going. This is where the vendors are. This is where final tuning is. That's where the drum majors are. This is arena 1, 2, 3, etc. It doesn't just magically happen. There's a wealth of work that goes on. And most of these people, if not all of them, are doing so in a voluntary capacity. So now, obviously, I'm going to put a big precursor on everything we're going to discuss. Now, obviously, those who were across at some of those meetings were paid employees by the RSPBA. Yes, we understand that. Our own chief exec, Colin Mulhern, was across, and others who are definitely there in a paid capacity. And yeah, it's them, obviously, we're talking about whenever we're talking about these meetings and showing the work behind the scenes, but also the volunteers themselves, the people on the ground with the high-vis coats on that make these things happen. Yeah, we're talking about them. The volunteers, people who just give up their time to help this scene function. So the logistics, actually marking out a circle on the ground, is actually quite a technical job. I've seen it been done many times. Very technical. So volunteers have to learn all of this and put it into place. Also, the actual, the crowd control measures, those little fences that you stand at each arena, or if there's tiered seating involved and stuff, that again doesn't just magically appear. A team of volunteers have to actually put that in place. So, all these little things that I'm mentioning here are all placed there by volunteers. Yeah. Now, also, I have to give a shout out to the various stewards and marshals that help make an event run on time. Yeah. Now, we've mentioned this before, that we believe that stewards at an event are kind of the unsung heroes. Now, I know, sometimes stewards get a bad rap because, sometimes they do have to deliver quite a stern message to a pipe major. Right, PM, you're running over your time. If you're not on the line in 2 minutes, you're disqualified. Oh, yeah, sometimes they have to be the bad guy. But stewards and marshals and all of that kind of shift the bands around to make sure that they're in the right place at the right time. They're absolutely another essential lifeblood part of our competition scene. Yeah. So shout out to our stewards. We'll talk more about you in a wee minute or two. Another one I want to talk about is, all the administrative staff that are behind the scenes. All of the secretaries that took care of all of the paperwork. And did we even mention the compilers? Oh, yeah, the compiler people who are behind the scenes totting up all the scores and making sure that everything is as accurate as it could be. Sometimes those compilers have hit the headlines for all the wrong reasons. And, human error does creep in. But they are dependent on those dedicated volunteers who are meticulous and, pretty accurate with all of their recording and all of their administrative work. That, again, another essential element of a competition. Making sure bands are registered, that all those who are entered are actually there in attendance, that their band fees have been paid, and all of their band rosters are up to date. Yeah, we spoke about that at a previous Rab show not too long ago, about how PMs need to carry a list of their registered players now, and all of that administration needs checked off. Again, volunteers help make all of that happen. Yeah, so if they are so vitally important and they are the lifeblood of our bagpiping scene, then why aren't more people throwing their hat in the ring? Well, let's talk about the possible cons of being a volunteer. Yeah, if you do decide to say, hey, I'll help, I'll throw my hat in the ring, and I will help mark out the circles, I will take care of the portaloos, I will coordinate security on the day, and if anyone's misbehaving in the beer tent, I'll bounce them off the premises. Or I'll help out with car parking. I'll, help with general information. If people get lost, I can help them find their way to the first aid station or something like that. So if you do decide to be a volunteer, well, can I just say, first of all, it is absolutely physically demanding. Now, this is something that I don't think comes across whenever you're, throwing your hat in the ring. There can be a lot to consider. And the first one in my regard was that it was physically demanding. A lot of our volunteers will be on the site of a competition from early doors. I mean proper early. Now, there's been some times I've arrived at the World Championships, for example, and it's shortly after 6 a.m., and I'm standing there at the front gate like an idiot. Let me in! And the gates don't open for another hour. I'm sure you've probably seen the live stream where it's me and the folks with yellow coats. Who let that Rab guy in? What? Egypt? What is that? Yeah. So a lot of those volunteers who are running around with the high vis on, setting up the vendors, looking at the portaloos, all of that stuff, setting up the litter bags and the bins and making sure there's recycling possibly if it's an offer, and also the water points that were discussion point at last year's Worlds, all of that sort of stuff. All of those people are there from the wee hours. You're talking 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, and you're there once everyone has left. You're still running around. So the physical demands on volunteers are not just between the opening of the gates. They're long before and long after. So long time spent on your feet, often from sunrise to sunset. Yeah, so as everyone has finished the massed bands and you had your prizes awarded and you're all the way back to the hotel for your Ribena, well, there's a team of volunteers behind the scenes that are, working away furiously. Also, volunteers, let's say this, they will have to stand out there and be committed to their role regardless of the conditions. There has been some times over the years where I have pulled into car parks at competitions and it is absolutely thumping it down. Now, and these poor people are having to stand there in the open and directing people to a car park where you know full well that the people driving those cars are not going to get out of their car until the rain stops or the wind stops howling. Well, either way, a volunteer has to stand there and say, right, I know it's lashing, I am absolutely soaked through and I'm freezing, but I need to tell these people where to park. That takes a serious amount of dedication. Regardless of the conditions, you're dependent upon to carry out your role. Yeah, so again, weather conditions, definitely another factor. But let's talk about possibly one of the biggest things why people would not want to volunteer. Well, it can be quite high pressure. Now, what I mean by that is, well, those compilers that I spoke about. That's possibly one of the most high pressure jobs in our bagpiping world. And for the reason that I just mentioned earlier, they do hit the headlines when things go wrong. The accuracy is absolute paramount, and people are terrified of making a mistake and absolutely ruining someone's weekend, and in fact their entire season. Now, we've reported on stories like this before where the incorrect winner gets read out on the park, and it is heartbreaking for everyone involved. And for the person who actually read it out, and for the compilers themselves who made the mistake but then later noticed it and had to come clean. Absolutely awful. Talk about high pressure. Yeah. And when moments like that happen, we learn from it, obviously, but it makes it incredibly difficult then for anyone else to want to throw their hat in the ring and say, well, you know what? I want to do that. Yikes. Talk about pressure, especially at the likes of a major championship. When you consider how many performances get judged on a weekend, you get 2 piping sheets, a drumming sheet, an ensemble sheet, and all of that has to be accurately recorded, totted up, and then, the eventual correct winner calculated meticulously. Serious amounts of paperwork. And the likes of the World Championships, for example, where you could have upwards of 30, 40 bands in a particular grade. Yikes. Even for the likes of a steward as well, whose responsibility it is to get that band into the circle. Yeah, like imagine that. You're the one responsible for getting that band into final tuning and then out of final tuning and on the line on time. And if the pipe major, lead tipper are not agreeing with you, then what do? Do you have to stand there and fight with them? Yeah. As I said, sometimes you have to deliver that difficult message as if to say, right, you need to be on the line in 2 minutes or else. Do you have the ability to be that bad guy? Yeah, that's another possible con there. A huge conflict sometimes. Anyway, enough of the negative, Rab. Let's talk about some of the positives of volunteering, right? Now, ourselves in the Big Rab Show, we've experienced this ourselves. There's a lot of positives here with volunteering and covering the scene, or even helping to produce the scene and help it function. Number one is that you will get a front row seat for some of the best bands and musicians in the world, often standing closer to them than the regular general public would. Yeah. Now, you often get such access at events like concerts and, fundraising events and things like that. Ourselves in Rab Show, we've been very fortunate to cover a lot of these events in the past. And, because we're volunteering our time and we're capturing footage and stuff for the band, they're very keen for us to actually get a good view for our camera. So we've been very fortunate in some cases where they've actually placed us in such a place where we get a fantastic view. And also for the likes of competitions as well, we often see our stewards and all of our volunteers, they do get a front row seat, And so that's definitely a huge positive for sure. And the likes of ourselves here in the Rab Show, and Yeah, some of the folks that we have met through doing this podcasting thing on a voluntary basis, we have met some absolute legends. You know, like some of the folks that we've spoken to here on the pod, I still have to pinch myself and say, what, like, really? Wow. Some true legends have taken time to talk to us on the Rab Show pod. And we're volunteers doing this. You know, so if you're volunteering at an event, well, you'll also have opportunity to interact with these legendary bands, incredible players, and just overall legends in the scene. You know, if you're an enthusiast about this music at all, there's your opportunity. If you've ever wanted to walk up to Jack Lee and say, hey, Jack, how's it going, buddy? By the way, you're needed in Arena 2 at 3 o'clock, but hi, great to see you. We'll see you there at 3 o'clock. Make sure you're there, Jack, all right? Or else you're fired. I'm joking, of course. But that opportunity, you know, to just walk up to an absolute legend in the game and start a conversation because you're there for the event to help it happen. But, yeah, they're there as well also to help further the scene and to keep it running, you know? So, yeah, to be able to build those connections with the likes of legendary figures, for example, or to see these incredible bands firsthand and get some of the best seats in the house, that's a huge opportunity as well. Now, one of the things, someone pointed this out to me a while ago about volunteering, about how it can be used in an employment setting. Now, bear with me. This was explained to me, actually, when I was exploring this topic and kind of researching it a bit. Yeah, in an employment setting, you can put it on your CV, you know, or you can put it on, what do you call them in America? Resume. There you go. You can put this on, you know, like a job application to say in your spare time, you know, you have roles in timekeeping, record recording, event management, you know, the logistic planning, stuff like that. And, you know, all of these skills are transferable into the workplace. They provide you experience in leadership, you know, saying, hey, your band needs to be over here, follow me. That kind of thing, you know, and also getting an insight into the organization of some of these huge events can also give you an insight into event management, like I mentioned earlier. And, you know, this could open doors for other opportunities, not just in the piping world, but I know a lot of people who started out working as a volunteer in the bagpiping world and are now full-time working in music management. You know, they're running tours for some of the huge acts that we see now. And in this particular case, it's in the metal scene. They manage a few metal bands, and they've worked out some of their UK tour for them and stuff. You know, put them in venues and worked out all the logistics. But they started out working in the bagpiping world. Yeah. So all of these skills that you will gain through volunteering in the bagpiping world are absolutely transferable whenever it comes to the world of employment. So if there's a job out there that you would like and perhaps is in a similar kind of field, well, one of the best ways to get experience is to actually volunteer in the bagpiping scene and, yeah, try and transfer those skills that you've learned from volunteering into the world of work. There you go. Now, this is going to sound really corny, but one of the last pros that I have listed here for being a volunteer in the bagpiping scene is a sense of pride in the knowledge that you're helping to preserve the culture. Now, that does sound very highfalutin, doesn't it? But it's pretty true. I know a lot of people, whenever they hang up the sticks or they set the pipes down and say, that's it, I'm not playing anymore, or some people just say I'm not physically able. I've heard that happening before too, where people say, I've had enough. I can't really physically play at the level I want to anymore, so I'm not going to play anymore. But I still want to help the scene. I want to continue contributing in some way. Now, a lot of those players, they do remain in their own pipe band, and they maybe would set sound or something or help with a coaching point of view or maybe tuition or something like that. But there are those out there that do take it another step further and they say, well, yes, I want to help out with the band, but I also want to help in the scene in general. I've got all this free time now. Perhaps they're retired from employment and they're finding themselves, well, hey, I can give back to the scene, you know, and volunteer my knowledge and all of my experience that I've had in playing all these years, I can bring it to an association and help them run their upcoming event. And to those folks, it does bring a huge sense of pride, that they're helping and they're giving back and helping to preserve the bagpiping world for yet another season and continue that wheel turning and introducing more people to our incredible music. That's, exactly why a lot of our volunteers do it, for that incredible sense of pride. Now, I know it does sound corny, doesn't it? But it's absolutely true. But yeah, for a lot of volunteers out there, they kind of are the unsung heroes, but they do so with immense pride, knowing that they're preserving the culture. Yeah. So that's the pros and cons. I need to talk about those out there that do get paid. Okay? Yeah, because this has been a little bit of a bone of contention with bands now for decades. This is not an old thing. This has been going on for as long as I can remember. Those who work in an official volunteering capacity, be it a steward, a judge, an official of some kind, there are those out there that do receive monetary compensation. So rather than getting into the exact precise nature of everything, there are those kind of common denominators of things that do get covered whenever it comes to monetary value. Number one, top of the list, there are those judges out there that do get allowances paid. All right. If you are acting as an official RSPBA judge, an adjudicator in that circle, you will be getting a fee. All right. That's well known. Also, judges will also have their travel, the likes of their hotel, mileage, etc., all of that sort of stuff. That all gets paid as well. So they do get reimbursed. So it's not a case of saying, right, I'm charging you £3 million for a hotel stay. No, that's not the case. That's maybe a little excessive. But they will absolutely, be out of pocket, and then they will write an invoice to RSPBA, for example, and say, hey, I spent about £300 or something attending the UK's. Can you possibly reimburse me? And then that's how that works. So they get their travel and their subsistence and that kind of stuff paid. Now, they also get things like, they get a hospitality. Now, we've spoke about this in previous Rab shows about the VIP tent at the Worlds. Yeah, that's been a topic of conversation right there. Oh, Rab, sure, they're all sitting over there eating caviar and drinking champagne all the time. No, they're not. I have seen firsthand at this point now what the hospitality tent looks like for a lot of our bigwigs. And in some cases, it's just cups of tea and sandwiches. And a lot of those could actually just be made by some of the volunteers at the event to say, hey, I've made a loaf of sandwiches at home and I brought them in for everybody. Oh, I've baked buns. Here we go. Everyone gets a bun. Yeah. So sometimes that's all it takes. And a lot of that stuff is provided to our judges, our stewards, and people on the day to help them keep them fueled. Like bottles of water, stuff like that, little snacks and things. Somebody had went to the Tesco that morning and bought a box of Kit Kats or something. I don't know. Other chocolates are available. But yeah, the hospitality tent that has been the discussion in previous years, I don't think is by far as extravagant as it used to be. Definitely not. Yeah, they do like to keep people fed that are volunteering their time. So you do get some small hospitality offering on offer. So it's not huge. They're not sitting back there eating caviar and drinking champagne, with oysters and everything and have butlers. Not at all. That is no, that's a fallacy. Absolutely false. There you go. So that is one of the other things that they do receive, hospitality. And also, I'm aware that some events do require additional training for their volunteers. Some of them do need to have the likes of first aid training, things like that. And again, that brings me back to the ability to bring those skills over into the workplace. Some of that training that could be provided to the likes of stewards or compilers or any other volunteer on the day, a lot of that can be, that training provided can be brought across into the world of work. There you are. So, right. So that's kind of the stuff that you can get if you're a volunteer. the monetary stuff. As for the allowances that it's paid to directors and to judges and things like that, all of that full detail, you can look on the RSPBA site. There are details within the rules as to what is payable, what can be claimed, and all of that. And yeah, you might have seen us talk about that in previous Rab shows. About sometimes it has been controversial. There's been a couple of measures that has been brought through to the AGM that have been voted down by bands. Less said, the better. Anyway, let's move on. But yes, the monetary value, the claiming for travel, hotels, subsistence, catering, things like that, all of that does get dealt with, I guess, through the organization of each event, and can be a plus point or a negative point, depending on which way you want to look at it. Again, it brings me back to the very beginning point. All of that stuff that I just talked about, all of what you get, the pros, the cons. Again, it brings me back to everything in our bagpiping world would not happen if it wasn't for volunteers. Those people who are passionate enough to keep our scene moving, those who kind of throw their hat in the ring and say, hey, right, there's no one doing that job right now. We need someone doing that job. We need Portaloos on Saturday. Okay, I'll sort them out. Right? We need those people. Those that say, hey, I'll do it. And the more, the better. For the likes of us here in the Rab Show, the Big Rab Show absolutely would not happen without the Big Rab Show team. I'll be the first one to admit that. I've said it many times. And if anything, our coverage is definitely heavily dependent on volunteers who help us bring footage of all sorts of great events all around the world, and news stories, topics of the week, and suggestions for future shows. All of that stuff just would not happen without volunteers. So, yeah, I'm putting the call out. Putting the call out, not only for ourselves here in the Big Rab Show, but also for, well, any piping body out there. If they are all actively seeking volunteers. Now, I know we spoke to Andy earlier in the show, and we kind of joked about it. If you want to throw your hat in the ring, then contact them. That's the best thing to do. If you are anyways curious about how you can help out, then, yeah, do contact your local piping body. Be it a branch, headquarters, whatever, or even a Highland Games committee or something that is local to you. Do reach out to them. Start at a local level and then perhaps look broader afield. Perhaps, I don't know, you can maybe even help out at a headquarters level or even internationally for that regard. If you have experience in event management and things like that, well, if you have experience, I'm sure they would love to hear from you. Yeah, so reach out, drop them a message. All of them are contactable through their websites. They have email addresses, social media accounts. I'm sure every one of them would absolutely love to hear from you. Do you know something that people don't quite understand about being a volunteer in the piping world? Is that you don't need to be a piper or a drummer. I don't know. People get so confused by that. But no, you don't need to have any musical experience at all. You don't need to be a musician to be a volunteer in the bagpiping world. Yeah, all you have to be is passionate about the scene. Have a real, genuine interest in the bagpiping world and saying, hey, do you know what? I think I could make a real difference here. People are complaining about a certain thing, and I believe I could fix it. So why don't you jump in there and try and do something about it? So reach out to your local bagpiping body, whoever they are, or even your local games, whatever. Reach out to them saying, hey, I might not have music experience, but I absolutely want to help. And even if they can't take you on board as a fully fledged, like a steward, for example, right? Even if you don't have experience and you don't know who all the bands are, you don't know who the people are, but you absolutely want to be a steward, well, then you can ask them, well, can I shadow someone? Can I shadow for them even for a few hours on the day to see what they do? Or even any other volunteer for that matter. If there's anyone there who takes care of car parking, can you stand next to them and watch what they do? How do you take ticket sales at a gate? How do you sell merch? How do you put food vendors in place? And what kind of things do they need? Do they need access to power, to waste disposal, stuff like that? Can I shadow someone watching them do what they do and learn from them. You know, the shadow method, as I call it, I've noticed it happening so many times, and those skills can be really invaluable. And you can only really get that by throwing your hat in the ring. Yeah. Now, I'm going to leave you again, and I'm going to leave it there. That's pretty much where I want to leave it as well. Kind of a call to action and how to get involved. And I'm going to plant that little idea about the shadow method. I know there's a lot of people out there that perhaps would not be fully interested in taking all of the responsibility, but are keen to learn what exactly they do. And perhaps shadowing an existing volunteer that's perhaps been in that role for a while, that might be worth your time. And perhaps, you never know, after a month or so shadowing someone, you could say, well, I can do that. I could get in there and do what they're doing. Well, then have at it. Good luck to you. Yeah. I want to remind you again, volunteering is the absolute lifeblood of the bagpiping world. It wouldn't happen without them. And to all of those out there who do volunteer on a regular basis to make our scene possible, if you're running a solo event, a concert every year, a competition that we were talking about mostly in this week's topic, or even if you're volunteering here on the Big Rab Show to point a camera at a band at a weekend and film it for us, or to bring us a news story that we need to talk about, anything like that, if you're volunteering your time in this bagpiping world, a huge thank you from all of us in the scene. Because by doing what you're doing, you're helping preserve and keep going our scene and, maintaining it. And that's impossible without volunteers. Yeah. For doing something for as little as like 4 hours of your time, you could make a huge difference to an event. Now, not just to an event, but also to an organization, to any kind of body out there that relies on volunteers. I've kind of calculated it down. 4 hours of your time can make an absolute huge impact. Now, whether it is something as simple as picking up litter and sticking it in a plastic bag and leaving it somewhere at the end of the event, helping with the cleanup, helping to, pick up the railings and throw them in the back of a lorry, or gather up all the neglected deck chairs and stuff like that, the silly things that to you might seem small, but a few hours of your time helping with that stuff is worth its weight in gold. So I'm just going to leave you with that. And that's it for another topic of the week. I know I kind of waxed lyrical there, but it's a very important topic. I hope you do consider a lot of what we spoke about here. And if you have any points of reference yourself or any stories about volunteering in the bagpiping world, then please do get in contact with us. We'd love to hear your story. Our email address, bigrabshow@gmail.com. The address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Drop us in your stories, your experiences of volunteering in the scene. Is there any volunteers out there in the bagpiping world that we should absolutely be talking to? And have they got a story to tell? I bet there are some stories out there volunteers would have that possibly would not see the light of day, not broadcastable. Anyway, I'll leave you with that one. There you go. Email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on volunteers in the bagpiping world. All right, folks, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thank you all for tuning in this week and each and every week. And don't forget to tell your mates about our wee show, about what we're doing over here, talking about what we know and love to be the music of the great Highland bagpipe and its people. And we'll see you all again in the next one. Until then, all the best.
Well, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thanks so much for downloading this week, and a special thank you to our sponsor, G1 Reeds. Played by bands around the world, they are the champion's choice. Check out g1reeds.com for all of your piping needs. Don't forget to check out thebigrabshow.com to be kept up to date with all of the latest news and views from around the piping world. And also, check us out on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get your hands on tons of extra piping goodness and be a part of the Patreon faithful. So, until next week, folks, we'll see you right here on the Big Rab Show podcast. All the best.